Objection! So before we get started, I just want to throw out the disclaimer that I won't be directly addressing the leaks and rumors surrounding Gen 6, nor showing any of the media associated with it, as I don't want Hasbro knocking at my door. Instead, we're going to just have a general discussion about what this G4 G5 crossover series could possibly look like, and more importantly discuss how such an event can work, and also how it can't. So let's dive in and discuss the possible future that is MLP Generation 6. With the end of G5 fast approaching, fans have begun speculating even more with what the next iteration of MLP will entail. The quote-unquote leaks teased a G4 and G5 crossover series, which on paper does sound like an interesting idea. Getting to see your favorite characters from different generations meeting and working off one another, utilizing their various strengths, sharing their knowledge, and engaging in unique situations where they can display their teamwork to resolve issues or take down the next big baddie. Sounds great! However, it's not enough to sustain it as a full-on series. As a movie or short series, sure, but wouldn't work as a multi-season show. Here's why. Let's go back to G4. Over the course of Friendship is Magic, we saw our main cast mature and grow as three-dimensional characters like Twilight going from the bookworm to eventual princess of all Equestria, or Fluttershy, a pony who once feared her shadow, learned to assert herself against various foes, or Rainbow Dash dreaming, waiting to one day join the Wonderbolts, which eventually became a reality, and so on for the rest. Anyway, by the second half of the series, the amount of growth potential for our heroes began to stagnate, when compared to the earlier seasons where growth was much more abundant. By the end of Season 9, every pony in the main 6 had pretty much reached their peak. They've developed to become much stronger and wiser friends since their first meeting years ago with all the various friendship lessons they've learned. Thus, there are really no more major hurdles or revelations to be had. They're done. And now a proposed idea for Gen 6 is to bring these characters back for a brand new main series? But MC, you say. Earlier, you already mentioned the various possibilities associated with such a crossover. Yes, I did. But before we get to that, let's compare this to something else that involves the continuation of a character from one series to another and their potential for growth. Let's take Kratos from God of War. The original God of War series. Note, I will be dumbing down this section to its most basis of storytelling to 1, avoid spoilers, and 2, get through this as fast as possible. So if it sounds like I'm just over-generalizing, that's why. Anyway, the titular character was originally an incredibly violent and angry god that laid waste to any foe who would betray or cross his path, selfishly pursuing his own ideals at the cost of others. In the God of War reboot, he is still haunted by the sins of his past, but attempts to move on to a much more calmer life, raising his son Atreus, all the while becoming a much wiser person, being less focused on vengeance and more so on building alliances. Sure, he still gets involved with situations that instill violence when necessary, but has learned to control that rage not only for his sake but for his son as well, teaching him the knowledge and pitfalls he's experienced during his life so that Atreus will not make the same mistakes as his father once did, and by the end of the journey has developed into a much deeper multi-dimensional character. Point here is, you can chart a believable and well-written growth of Kratos from one iteration to the next that leads to interesting interactions and positive character development, which rounds us back to Gen 6. As I said, by the end of G4, our main cast had reached their resolution. Twilight is Princess of all Equestria. Can't get much higher than that. Rainbow Dash is the leader or high-ranking member of the Wonderbolts. Her dream since she was a filly. Rarity is a highly successful fashionista all across Equestria, and so on. They've completed their life's journeys and are enjoying the fruits of their labor, with any past mistakes resolved as well. There's nothing left to do. Let's not tarnish G4's legacy and just let it go. Now I know what you're all saying at this point. MC, you really haven't talked about the main characters of G5. That's true. But again, the same situation. Sunny's character arc was pretty much done even all the way back at the end of the movie. Misty's arc of a lost filly being corrupted, then reformed and reunited with her father led to a great finished story. Hitch has the whole dragon dad thing pretty much down. Pip, social media princess? Is he being creative? Zip, admittedly, is the only one with potential for further development, as that whole future ruler arc thing never really went anywhere in the series. So there is that, I guess, we could explore in Gen 6, but again, it's something that feels left over that should have been completed in G5. But with that being said, let's take a look at the opportunities of our heroes being transplanted to modern-day Equestria, along with the main characters of G5. With Applejack, there's really not much that would change other than her utilizing modern technology and farming, I guess. Twilight could maybe reestablish a school of friendship or attempt to create her seat of power in modern Equestria, but we would just be retreading Season 8's old school recreation plotline, and Twilight returning to the throne would on paper be a good way to reunite Equestria, but again, Sunny and her friends pretty much have already done that, and would just feel like we're going through the motions. Fluttershy could establish an animal sanctuary for all the new animals that have been introduced? Maybe? Now, Rainbow Dash, on the other hoof, has some potential with her re-establishing the Wonderbolts in modern Equestria, and maybe even coach Zip to be her wing pony, or even re-establish the protective pony platoons and actually have some type of defense force in this world. That's interesting. Though, funny enough, the ones who would benefit the most from modern Equestria would be Pinkie Pie and Rarity. With the advent of TV, internet, and phones, they could utilize such mediums to spread their brands and business. Pinkie could easily create viral videos and promote her as the premier party pony and connect and plan parties with every pony around the world. Rarity, along with Pip's help, could use social media to spread her latest fashion designs and increase the renown of her label all across the world to every major metropolitan city. Parallel to these ideas, you could have the ponies of G4 be mentors to those of G5. Twilight could mentor Sunny on her alicorn abilities, all the while training Zip how to become a ruler, or Zip and Rainbow in the earlier Wonderbolt scenario, Pip helping Rarity and Pinkie Pie to acclimate to modern technology and sharing fashion trends with one another, or Pinkie and Izzy becoming the ultimate creative duo, Applejack and Hitch, growing stuff, Fluttershy and Misty, assertiveness? And yet, despite all these possibilities, this isn't enough to sustain a long-form show. This is a crossover event. It's a gimmick, nothing more. Once again, this brings us back to the core issue. If Gen 6 decides to go this route, there's nothing else major to do with the characters of G4 and G5 for the most part. So the show would basically be dragging these characters kicking and screaming just to eke out that little more development out of them in the vain attempts to start a long-term sustainable series. Their time in the sun is done, and I know you're all super excited about getting to see your favorite characters back in the saddle again. But that nostalgia is only gonna go so far. If they did the Pony Life thing and made it Gen 5.5, maybe that could work. And I suppose it would satisfy the fans until the true Gen 6 premieres. But I know the question you're all asking me at this point, what would you do for Gen 6? Well, that's a whole video in of its own. But if you want my short take on it now, honestly, make it a soft reboot. Use the land of Equestria as our main setting, and like the previous gens, 6 brand new characters of varying pony race, at least 2 male, in a brand new city populated by various other creatures that were sadly missing from G5 to provide unique interactions and opportunities. But that's just a very quick speculation I may expand upon in another video. With that being said, what are your guys' thoughts on this whole G4, G5 crossover story? Do you think it has potential? Or do you see any issues? Or do you guys have your own ideas for the next generation? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe. Well, that's it for today, guys. Until next time, MC out!